Good evening. We're now reconvening to open session as I play with the, there we go. The only reportable action taken in closed session, the personnel summary was approved in closed session unanimously, and a copy is available in the back of the room. Can I have a motion for the approval of the agenda, including time limits, please?
I move to approve the agenda, including time limits.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda, or are there any trustees that wish to have any item removed, or any student trustees that wish to have an item removed for discussion? And no public comment?
I'd like to remove item 17N, please.
N is in Nancy?
N is in Nancy, yes.
So that's the alteration to school property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I assume that there'll be additional material made available to the board.
Correct. I believe I saw something from Mary on that, and we can discuss that.
I'd like to remove 17E.
Bid number 58.
Yes.
Any other item?
Well,
that-
and actually E, if I move E, F probably, they kind of go hand in hand, E and F. But it's a
Okay.
quick question.
Okay, so far we have items 17E, 17F, and 17N removed from the consent agenda. Anything else?
17J, please, just for a comment.
17J.
Yes, thank you.
Can I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda, but withholding items 17E, 17F, 17J, and 17N, please?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those, this is not a roll call vote, is it? Hold on.
No.
Okay, for some reason I had thought it was, oh, it is a roll call vote. Okay, Mary?
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Futterman?
Aye.
Ms. Lundgren Harrison?
Aye, thank you. So that passed. Very good. So now we'll move on to trustee reports. I know it's a very, very busy time for you. Thank you for coming. So do either of you wish to start, or should I just?
Okay.
Thank you, Fatima.
Okay, at Tamalpais, the Art Beautification Committee is having informational meeting next week about putting some art around Tamalpais, maybe a mural or painted wooden benches. Students will agree on something, bring their proposal to staff, Corbett, and of course you guys. This will be a great opportunity to bring students together to create something and bring some color on the campus. The Tamalpais yearbook has been submitted, and we'll be able to see it in person very soon. Patchen Homitz was our yearbook advisor, and this year we created a book with all the Tamalpais programs. The Team Students Lottery for next year's class is occurring Thursday, and students will be notified with the results Monday. There were 53 applications for 24 seats. The mock Supreme Court is happening on Wednesday, June 6th at 2 p.m. With students arguing actual cases. It is open to everyone, and of course, trustees are invited to come watch and listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
So at Drake, things are sort of winding down. Prom was a success. Everyone seemed very happy with it. As sports-wise, our boys swim team won MCAL, and our boys volleyball team is going on to NCS. And then there is lots of activities for the seniors, as usual. But one of the new things is we're doing a sort of senior picnic / pool party in the pool. So that's something we've never done before on Monday, the 11th. so hopefully that will go well. AP testing is in full swing. Comic-Cad is presenting their end-of-the-year projects, which are original shorts that the students have completely made themselves. Those will be presented in the Little Theater. And then finally, our music department is having a lot of spring concerts throughout all of the different music programs.
Thank you. So now is the time that we move on to trustee reports. Would you like to start?
I have
Laura?
I have a lot written down here, so I'm going to not talk about some of these things that I went to with some of you other trustees, and you can fill in the blanks. Strategist update, our contract with Whitehurst Mosher is complete, and the district has now handed the parcel tax baton off to the campaign committee. They selected a firm to help them with the campaign and are now in the process of searching for an army of volunteers. So there are 2 chairs and a treasurer, and the Legion, the Army is forming, so that's very exciting. The Fiscal Advisory and LCAP Committee has not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting is June 19th. The Golden Bell Committee met. Lars runs a very tight meeting. We were in and out in less than 30 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be a really great celebration of all of our teachers and classified staff. And that, again, is Thursday, May 24th at Dominican. The big topics were that we need risers, and the reception is in the back of the hall, not in the front, so we don't make noise. So don't go to your car, go around back, that's where the food will be. Additional updates, I got around to a lot of the campuses since the last meeting, which I love to do. I went to Redwood Site Council meeting with Leslie, and we heard a lot of great input from the people at the table about, they had questions about our budget. That was what we talked about primarily, and it was just good to have dialogue with them. So that was one thing that I did. TAM, I also went to TAM with Michael. We went to their foundation meeting, and similar update on what's happening at the board level, focusing on how we're tackling the budget situation. And again, great group of parent volunteers there who are ask really good questions and are on top of the game. So that's always good to see. At Drake, I saw The Drowsy Chaperone. Yeah, was very fun and entertaining. I also saw the baseball game against Marin Catholic at Drake, and TAM, I attended Lisa Hicks's memorial, which was really moving. The tree that's been planted is perfect, I think. So it was great to see all the students working on tiles. I attended a track meet. I went to the MCAL swim meet. I loved doing that because I got to see all 3 comprehensive schools at once. And boy, do we have some good swimmers in the district. Drake did take the boys' title. I think TAM took the girls, or did I get that switched around? I don't remember. Anyway, we had terrific swimmers, many of them going on to swim at the collegiate level. Today, I, with Leslie, attended the spring tea that the Corte Madera, and Michael was there, the Corte Madera Women's Improvement Club hosted, and they honored 2 Redwood girls who are graduating and gave them scholarships. So it's always great to see our students getting accolades. So I'm going to stop talking now.
Was AP capstone before last meeting?
You could say, I think you go ahead.
So with Laura, I was at the Lisa Hicks Memorial at TAM, which I thought was very meaningful, sad but meaningful. Laura and I were also participated in it, I got, because we got an email today from Emily LaTourette in the AP capstone presentations. We may have said that part before the last meeting, I don't recall. TAM Foundation Board meeting, where we also got a summary from JC and a summary from the student about what was going on campus. The Women's Improvement Club, the scholarships today were for community service, and I thought it was very impressive what the two girls from Redwood had done with respect to community service. And I ran into the Redwood mountain biking team on Mount Tam when I was out riding, and it was a very impressive group with quite a few parents who were, who are volunteer coaches, I guess is sort of the best way to say it. And I'm glad that they were doing it and not me because I couldn't keep up. But it was, and I know that we just had it was just in the paper, right, that TAM, I think, won the Redwood mountain biking, won the MCALS championship. So kudos to TAM.
Okay. Additionally, I also attended the memorial for Lisa Hicks. I was also deeply impressed and appreciated Lars's speaking on our behalf as an institution. It was very warm and appropriate. And I was also grateful to Zach Gilmore, TAM grad and art teacher, who also shepherded and helped organize the event. Spent 3 hours at Drake, just hanging out, listening to people, watching, checking everything out. Very pleased with the calmness on all the campuses, because I've been to all of them, I think, so far in the last week or so. Attended labor negotiations for the day on a Thursday. That was very intense, very important. Also attended the meeting of the Marin County School Boards Association, where there was a very, I thought, intense, appropriate, meaningful presentation by RX Safe Marin. I'm going to recommend that we bring that, the three really movers and shakers of that group back for the fall presentation, because the audience was so engaged and concerned about the information that they heard and the opportunities to address the many, many concerns that we have for the health of our children. And tomorrow will be a JLAC meeting, so I hope to report on an update from Sacramento. I'll be attending next weekend the CSBA Delegate Assembly, where we were able to accomplish a great deal, I thought, in May. I'm looking forward to this one in terms of making some headway around the issues we are facing, the multitude of issues we are facing. And I think that's it. Thank you.
I'll let you go.
I've got nothing to report, having been on vacation in Australia from the day after the last meeting to the day before this one.
And thank you for the emails. You were keeping up with board business. You and I were communicating. Thank you. So I'll combine my president's report, and also I'm kind of speaking a little bit on behalf of Dr. Yoshihara, who's called to a meeting this week. I, along with some of the other trustees, have visited the campuses, and the message that I really wanted to impart was that this time of year, we're reminded of all the good work everyone does, and we've all been here with looking at the challenges of the district, looking at the budget, the fiscal challenges we're having, and staffing, and it's been, every day I seem to learn something new about the district that is so impressive. And I know the administrators often don't get thanked, but thank you. Just this week, I was copied on an email to Dr. Topier asking a question that I hadn't paid that much attention to, and I learned yet another very great support system that she's put in place. And just visiting the campuses, and I've been going to more sporting events than usual. It's just such a special place, and it's clear it's because of our teachers and all our employees, the classified staff, administrators, principals. I'm just really thank you very much. And that's what Dr. Yoshihara and I were talking about before he had to leave town, was that everyone kind of often at times like this, you got your head down, you're working hard, and you forget to look up and realize we're pretty darn lucky that we have the community that we have. And everyone here that's working in our student trustees, we're pretty darn lucky. So thank you, everyone. We're on to board communications. We have part of the agenda packet, 3 attachments. One is an email about the Drake trip to Italy, and from Miss Leach, and I hope I pronounced that name correctly. Also, we had an email requesting us to look into the Holocaust curriculum from Ms. Appel, and a teacher leadership program email. So now's the time of the agenda where we open it up to public comment on any item that's not on the agenda. And I'll say one thing briefly, then I have a statement to read before people are welcome to get in line. At this time of the agenda, you know, it is for things that haven't been agendaized, so there definitely won't be any back and forth discussion. We might, at the most, ask a clarifying question. But for those of you that have never made a public comment, please don't take our being quiet as thinking that we're not hearing you or that we don't care. We just really are obliged to not get into a communication. These are really board meetings that are in public. So now I'm going to read a statement. When I'm done, you're welcome to line up. And I do have all your yellow cards. I do appreciate that. But if anyone did not fill out a yellow card, you're welcome to. You're not required to. It just helps us with our meeting minutes later. So I'm going to read you the statement now. Please see the attached. No, never mind. The next statement. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and provides this time for members of the audience to address the board on any school-related matter not on this agenda. The board can take no action at this time. Each speaker is requested to identify themselves prior to addressing the board and will be heard up to 3 minutes. The presiding officer of the board shall determine, based on the time constraints of the board, whether some time less than 3 minutes shall be allocated to individual speakers. I think tonight we have several, but I think we can do 3 minutes tonight as well. So I won't call you, but if you identify yourself when you come up, I know that sometimes you want to go first and sometimes you don't, so I'll let whoever would like to go first to go first. Thank you. And if you could just identify yourself.
Sure. I'm Molly Whiteley, and I was aiming for 2 minutes, so let's see if I can
That'd
do
be
that.
great. Thank you.
I have to read, though, because, yeah.
Understood.
So I am a parent of 2 Drake grads who received an excellent education at Drake. I'm also a retired public school teacher, former K-12 science curriculum coordinator. I actually worked in this room years ago, and I'm a former school principal. So I appreciate the many issues that all of you are dealing with on a regular basis, and I thank you for all your work on that. When I retired, I chose to focus on one extremely urgent issue, which is climate change. And I now volunteer with several of these other lovely folks in the audience for 2 nonpartisan organizations, Schools for Climate Action and Citizens Climate Lobby. The CCL members, we volunteer to lobby Congress twice a year in D.C., and we work locally year-round on climate action. Schools for Climate Action is a subgroup, and we partner with youth to work with school districts to speak up on climate change as a nonpartisan children's issue. Our members of Congress and our other elected officials do need to hear from every constituent, including our youth and their elected representatives, such as yourselves, on this issue. Therefore, we will be asking you to join and lead in a growing movement of school boards to pass a nonpartisan resolution speaking up and out for climate action, stating that climate change is a real and growing threat to current and future generations. It's a generational justice issue, and we're going to ask you to declare actions that we can take locally and beyond. We're providing some sample resolutions passed by neighboring school districts, and we're offering to work with you to craft a meaningful and manageable resolution. We'll urge you to continue your strong curriculum on climate science, to collaborate with local entities such as the Marin County Project Drawdown, to make every effort to reduce the district's carbon footprint, and to spread the word to your peers in other districts and counties and states. Your elected collective voices are powerful. In June, we will be taking school district resolutions and students with us to the Hill in D.C., and we'll be sharing these with our members of Congress and other climate activists from across the nation to inspire their local school boards to speak up and out for our kids on climate action. So we have three very articulate students whom you may have met, and I'm just amazed by them. I can give you these now if you'd like. These are sample resolutions from 3 districts, and Marin County Office of Ed just passed one about an hour ago.
Thank you. That would be terrific if you could leave that up here. Thank you.
I'll just pass it down.
And Mary could make copies for us. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. If you could identify yourself, please.
Yeah, my name is Lily Willis, and I'm a senior at Drake. Thank you so much for your work. I'm finishing up my senior year, and I think I've had a fantastic education at Drake, and especially for your support of the CDISC program. I think that has really educated me on a lot of these issues and definitely empowered me to be here today. So I was first introduced to the idea that schools are going to be taking action on climate change when I interviewed one of the people who started Schools for Climate Action, who's a 14-year-old girl from Sebastopol, on the radio show that I have through CDISC with Cyrus over here. And since then, that was like 6 months ago, I've been anxiously awaiting the opportunity to come here and urge you guys to take action, pass a resolution that will mean that you'll be taking action against climate change. I think we all know that climate change is an issue which is going to affect my generation more than the generations that have preceded ours. And therefore, I urge you as elected officials dedicated to my education and by an extension have a great effect on my well-being to take action against climate change today by passing a resolution such as that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cyrus Thelen. I'm also from Drake High School. I'm in the CDISC program, and I'm also in the Global Student Embassy Club at Drake, excuse me, which is the international organization that has a club at Drake where we run the garden and do environmental projects around the school. And on behalf of both of those organizations and the students of Drake High School that I've spoken to, which is to say most of them, would like to express my support of the resolution that we're putting before you today, or a similar one. And I care a lot about climate change and what we can do to mitigate the effects of it and reduce it, because it's a generational justice issue, and it's a good way for the intergenerational gap between people like me who are my age and people who are of a generation that came before me, like you, to collaborate and do things together. I think it's a really good way to have something that matters to both of us, and that we can both have, we can all have good input about. Just something that I like to say about climate change is that a lot of people think that their individual actions, like I drive a Prius and I didn't get this plastic straw this time, so I can be absolved of guilt for other things that I've done, is sort of the mindset that a lot of people, even caring people, have about climate change, when really it needs to be a collective consciousness shift. And I think that there's really no better place to start that and continue that work that's happening than in schools. So that's why I urge you to follow the lead of all these other school boards and school districts that are doing similar things, and support Schools for Climate Action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Isabella Carmen. I am a senior at Redwood, and I'm the president of the Environmental Action Club here. First off, I would just like to thank you guys for the wonderful resources that we have to learn about the environment. I personally took AP Environmental Science last year, and it was a wonderful course. I learned so much. This year I'm taking Sustainable Agriculture, and it is, to this day, the most inspiring class I've ever taken. And I really think it's important that we continue to put emphasis on these classes so that our students are educated. And I'm here today because I want our district to be leaders of climate action and to pave the way for other districts in taking action for sustainability and reducing emissions. I know that for some, climate change may not seem like an obvious issue because we can't see the effects with the naked eye, or the consequences seem kind of distant or far. But I think it's really important to focus on because our generation is the one that will be focusing on these issues in that far away time. And if we can focus on prevention right now, then we won't have to worry about cleanup later. And I really hope that this climate resolution can be passed so that we can recognize that climate change is a pressing issue and so that we have a way to address it. I also wanted to point out that this resolution does not need to cost the district more money. In fact, it could actually save the district money depending on the changes that we decide to make. And we can do all this while improving our environment and while educating our students. And so please keep this in your minds, as it's a very important issue to me and to many students on this campus at Redwood. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Sana Thomas, and I live in Mill Valley with my husband, John, and we are members of Schools for Climate Action. But most importantly, we are also grandparents of 3 young students in the Reed Public Schools who are going to be headed into the Tam High School District one day. So naturally, I'm deeply concerned about the threat of climate change to their future, and I'm here today to speak on their behalf in support of a strong board resolution on climate change. Now, over the past few months, as you may know, there's been a citizens movement afoot to have all the local municipalities and the Board of Supervisors and other public sector entities in the county adopt Marin Clean Energy's 100% deep green option for all their electricity needs. But as you well know, school board members are the only publicly elected officials who have a singular focus on the education and development of our children. So the decisions and actions you take have a direct impact on students, and the stands and positions you take on their behalf have special weight and importance. Your voice and your advocacy really, really matters. The schools carry a crucial responsibility for teaching students accurately about climate change, providing teachers with professional learning and support so they can teach appropriately about climate change, and informing and engaging parents in the climate education of their children. My husband and I just completed a survey of all the middle and high school science teachers in Marin's public schools, and we discovered that many teachers aren't quite sure how to teach climate change appropriately. And most importantly, they are truly eager for solid professional development to help them do that. So I urge you to pass a strong and comprehensive resolution on climate change that includes actions related not only to facilities and operations, which are crucial, but also covers curriculum and instruction as well as professional learning for our teachers. Let's make Marin a state and national leader across the board for effective climate policy and action. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening and thank you. My name is David Kuhnhart. I'm from Corte Madera. I'm a parent of a soon-to-graduate senior here at Redwood High School. This will be the fourth year also that I participated in Joe Stewart's Sustainability Days, and am teaching 2 sessions on this time climate change as bold actions needed. I've done renewable energy leading to mitigations in the past, and that's what I do, have been doing for 11 years, because have known that climate change is this big for all of us. This school will be an island if the worst happens by 2050 in sea level rise. I want to say that it is still a difficult issue to perceive, because as the chair of the Bank of Britain says, it's a problem of the horizon. The worst of it is just over the horizon. But remarkably, these wonderful students have a perception of it. They have seen over the horizon. They know what is coming, and they know what is facing. I'm not going to repeat what others have recommended for curriculum, but I would say that your action will make a difference in D.C., and I'm one of those who will, for the second year, go to D.C. in early June to speak with members of Congress. I'm fortunate enough to be a liaison to Senator Harris's office on the part of Citizens Climate Lobby, and we have our meeting set up already. And it will mean ever so much more to the senator and to Congressman Huffman if we can speak legitimately on behalf of the leadership of the educational community as well as the leadership of the county. A year ago, the Marin County Board of Supervisors passed a fabulous resolution in support of very detailed actions on climate change, and we were able to take that into Jared Huffman's office, and he was saying fine, 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 but he was most interested in listening to the 13-year-old from the Sebastopol schools who was in our meeting, who was very articulate on this topic. So it is meaningful. It will make a difference. And just to give you a tiny bit of good news, 2 years ago, Climate Solutions Caucus recommended that the House of Representatives start a Climate Solutions Caucus. There were 8 members, 4 Dems, 4 Republicans, who signed on right away. Guess how many are on that caucus? The Climate Solutions Caucus today has 74 members, 37 Dems, 37 Republicans. Equal, they're growing it as Noah's Ark does, 2 by 2, and all of them know this is real, it's big, we got to start taking action. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will pass the handout down to the trustees. You have one, right? He has one.
Molly, when are you going to Washington?
Going
10, 11, 12.
10, 11, June 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd love to take these seniors, but they have graduations. Try to get them there in November.
Thank you. So now we move on to trustee considerations. And first topic is Dr. Tara Topier, your regular report on goals.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight, I'm going to approach it a little differently because it is National Teacher Appreciation Day. So I thought it best to update you on some of the great work our teachers are doing. I know many of you have been out, but I just wanted to share some of the things that I've been able to see. So recently I had the opportunity to visit the sites, specifically some of our AVID classes across the district. Over at Drake, I was able to watch as Lorraine Ortega's AVID class engaged in an academic discourse on the potential impact of automation of jobs. This was a topic that one of the students in the class was passionate about, and once a week she gives each of the students an opportunity to present information and engage in academic discourse with their peers on a topic that they are particularly passionate about, so that they all learn collaboratively. And it's always text-based. So it was really interesting to watch the students who were using text as evidence to support their position on the topic and engage in something really deeply. In Renee Ayala's class, the students were engaged in a think, pair, share, which is when you read something, you take notes on it, and then you share with a partner, and then share out more broadly. And they were talking about what values they believe grades should reflect and why.
and how grades impact them. So it was a really interesting conversation to hear kids discuss their thoughts on the value embedded in grades rather than just what is the grade. And then in Nikki Pelletier's class over at TAM, the AVID students were learning the science behind Cornell note-taking and considering how such a tool might help them retain more of what they learn. So they're not only learning the tools, but they're learning the why behind these are the tools that are being used in these academic courses and how it can help them be more successful. So that was a really engaging conversation as well, to hear the kids talk about how they're using them and how they might engage more deeply with the notes in the future. In each of these classes, there was high levels of engagement, and students appeared confident in their ability to meet the challenges at hand, which is exactly what the purpose of AVID is. So it was really great to see that coming to fruition in these classes that have just begun this year. Also, outside the classroom, I had the opportunity to sit in on our Soar Meetings, which is our Students Organized Against Racism, and I've seen our students lean on their trusted teachers to help them navigate difficult feelings and conversations around topics of race and racism, and help them find their voice as a way to be productive and contributing on their campuses around something that they're very passionate about, and a way to make their schools what they consider to be better, more inclusive places for all. I've also heard about teachers down at TAM volunteering their time to mentor struggling students, to be that one adult on campus that makes coming to school more enjoyable for some students who might be having difficult times. So during these long days of May, when it feels like the plates are spinning especially fast, I try to go to the sites and walk the halls, stealing glances into as many classrooms as possible, to remind myself of what a great place TAM District is and how grateful I am to work with these teachers. It is restorative for me to see students grapple with learning a difficult concept or consider a different point of view. So again, I'd just like to take this time to thank our teachers for all that they do.
Very good.
Thank you.
I feel like we should clap.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Just do. Good evening.
We haven't rehearsed this, but I would invite Corey DeMars, TFT President, and Jaime, TFT Vice President, to join me at the podium for a moment, please. Governing Board, good evening. Today is May 8th, and May 8th is National Day of the Teacher in 2018. And we have a resolution that we would like you to consider adopting. Confident that you will, and I'd like to read it to you, please, if I may. Whereas teachers are the heart and soul of our education system, and whereas teachers play a vital role in the renewal and regeneration of our democratic society, inspiring students to participate in the democratic process in preparation for life in a global community, and whereas today's teachers expand the minds and train the workforce of the future, assisting students to develop respect and understanding for the diversity of our world, and whereas good teaching grows in value and pays dividends far beyond the classroom in the development of thinking and caring individuals who achieve personal, academic, and professional success throughout their lives, and whereas no other profession touches so many people with such a lasting effect. We respectfully request that you pass this resolution honoring the 2018 National Day of the Teacher. I will tell you that I greatly value my interaction with my colleagues, Ann and Corey, every single day, and all the people they represent. So with that, I ask that you pass this resolution, please.
Thank you. Do we have any comments by the board? Student trustees? Do we have any public comment?
Corey, you're in?
I'll take this opportunity to just say how fortunate I am to represent such a fine group of teachers and counselors here in the TAM District, and how much I appreciate your guys' recognition of the work we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Did you want to make a comment, Barbara?
I think this district, reflecting the community in which it grows and it develops, has, over my experience with it over about 50 years, has continuously demonstrated its value and its support for its employees certainly it's teachers and counselors, and we usually say teachers and we forget counseling as well. The talent that we have in this district and the commitment that our teachers and counselors make in donating so much of their time and their care, it's so hard to even express gratitude that anyone could possibly believe. But I know this board represents that, as difficult as it may be to see that in these times. But I thank you, and I thank this community for supporting this process for so many years that has generated changes in certainly in our world, that many of our graduates have led. So thanks.
Very well said. Thank you.
I just feel like I need to thank all the teachers too. I mean, it's all written there, so don't want to be redundant. Teachers, counselors, librarians. We heard from several students tonight, and they exemplify what we strive to do in the district, and we have a couple up here too. And it's our teachers and counselors and librarians that make that happen. So I'm looking at you too. I know you're representing a much larger group, but thank you very much.
Okay. I think I'll hand it to Chuck to make the motion.
I move that we approve resolution number 17-18. Specifically, now therefore be it resolved that the Tamalpais Union High School District hereby recognizes and wishes to honor the teachers and counselors. Can we put in librarians in there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, teacher, counselors, and librarians of the district for their excellence and exceptional commitment to quality education in the district, and acknowledges May 8th, 2018 as National Day of the Teacher.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And this is a roll call vote? Or did you?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Futterman?
Aye.
And Ms. London?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you so
Very
much.
nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Victoria. Now, not to be outdone, and we don't have Tim Mullery here this evening as our classified president for our school district, but in the coming week, May 20th through 26th, it is Classified Employee Week. So I would also like to share a resolution with you in the hopes that you will adopt this resolution in similar fashion. Whereas classified employees are an integral part of our school communities, and whereas classified school employees provide valuable services to the schools and students of the Tamalpais Union High School District, and whereas classified school employees contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment, and whereas classified school employees play a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of Tamalpais Union High School District students, and whereas classified school employees employed by the Tamalpais Union High School District strive for excellence in their service to the students in the community, and I can assure you that they do. With that, would respectfully ask that the board pass the Classified School Employee Week of May 20th through 26th, 2018.
Thank you. I will open it up for comment again for the trustees or student trustees.
I'm going to comment again. Again, 50 years brings you in contact with all the people that you don't see at night, behind the computers, the folks that provide those nets, those safety nets for many of the certificated staff who do this work with a great deal of dedication and really take care of problems that, as I say, we don't even see because they take care of them all. And in an environment where we are growing the number of student enrollment, the need for all the kinds of jobs that classified personnel fill, from my experience, is simply growing, and the demand for their level of expertise is also growing. So I thank them as well.
Your husband was classified, correct? So I'm going to tell a story because I never knew her famous husband. But my daughter graduated from Tam High in 2007. And when I told her I was running for the school board and told her I was running with a teacher, she said, "Oh, that's fine. That's nice, Mom." And then about 6 months later, when she found out who she was married to, wow, I had no idea. But as an example, Barbara's husband was, and I don't know how to even describe him, but at TAM, even as my daughter put it, he kept the kids in class. And they knew how much he cared about each and every one of them, and he knew everybody's name. And when he would find kids being late to class, they knew who would take them on to class. And I heard so many wonderful things, and it just reminded me when Barbara said that our classified personnel touch our children just as much as the teachers, and definitely help our community as a whole. So thank you to the classified. Yeah. So I'd like to open up for public comment, if anyone would like to make a public comment. It's too bad Tim's not here.
No.
Yeah. The Warriors game.
Could be.
Maybe.
Could be. Could be.
Yeah.
I have a quick story and one typo on here. The typo I'll do typo is the last paragraph. I, David Yoshihara. We have a Herbie instead of a hereby. Do you see it after that?
Is his cousin? No. I don't.
We have Herbie.
Herbie.
Okay.
And then I'll tell a quick story. I was at the Courtyard. We were dropping off candy to express our appreciation for all the people in the district, and I met Debbie, our lone female custodian, and she was such a pleasure to talk to, and I'm sure she doesn't have as much contact with students as our teachers and librarians and counselors, but boy, did she light up the room, and she has no problem being the only female custodian in the district and seems to really like her job. So I love talking to everybody who works in the district, and she was just one of them. So a brand new person I met.
I will tell you, when you visit our various school sites, I know all of you do, because I see you there all the time, and you report out and so forth. It's remarkable the condition our schools are in, given how lean we run in the classified ranks, in terms of custodial support, maintenance and operations. It's our reality, it's our reality, but great pride in keeping those campuses as best they possibly can.
Great.
I'd like to add, too, that many of the people classified positions go far beyond their position in providing other services to our students. And one little story is that many, many years ago, long before we had wellness, Drake had a wellness center, and it was the copy room. And every day, at any time of the day, there'd be half a dozen to a dozen kids in there talking with Vicki Lucelo, who was the de facto, wellness therapist, whatever, for Drake High School.
With that, was respectfully request that you pass Classified Employee Week resolution, please.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll do it. I move that we resolve that the Tamalpais Union High School District hereby recognizes and wishes to honor the contributions of the classified school employees to quality education in the state of California and in the Tamalpais Union High School District, and acknowledges the week of May 20 through 26, 2018 as Classified School Employees Week.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mary?
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Futterman?
Aye.
And Ms. Lundgren Harlan?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe I'm next with the retirement resolution. As President Lundgren reported out on behalf of the board, we passed a personnel summary this evening that welcomes now for the coming year a number of new teachers and new classified employees to our school district. And as new people are entering the district, we have some veterans who are stepping away. And we have a resolution this evening honoring our retirees, and I'd like to share that with you. Resolution 17-20 is acknowledgement of retirees and their service to the Tamalpais Union High School District. We do have both classified and certificated retirees, folks who on the classified side have actually, many of them have already stepped away during the past year. You see them there on this screen. We have Hans Gatto, Elson Lee, Betty Sue Johnson, Daniel Menyon, Wanda Milford, Yoko Nagai, Gong Nugent, Barbara Rousseau, and Anne Maria Williams. It's remarkable years of service when you add them all up. On the certificated side, we have Mr. Ed Harrison, science teacher, Tam High, Mr. Todd Samet, science teacher, Redwood High School, and Miss Diana Winkler, English teacher, Drake High School. They too are stepping away. So, whereas the Board of Trustees and the entire Tam District community express our deepest appreciation for their loyalty, dedication, and service to the quality and standards of the Tamalpais Union High School District, and whereas we wish to express our warmest wishes for happy and satisfying retirement, whereas that the Tam Union High School District hereby recognizes and wishes to honor the contributions of 2017-18 retirees for their years of service to the school district. Again, we respectfully request that the board pass this resolution honoring our classified and certificated retirees.
Thank you, Lars. Do I have any comment from any of the trustees or student trustees? Any public comment? Mr. Clerk, would you like to do this again?
I move that we pass resolution number 17-20, acknowledging the retirees and their service to the Tamalpais Union High School District.
I second it.
Roll call vote?
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Owen?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Futterman?
Aye.
Ms. Lundgren-Hartman?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So do I do this at the podium or can I do this here? Okay. So I think we'll do this over the course of 2 meetings since there's 2 of you here. So not even sure where to start. As you know, the idea, one of the main purposes of having student trustees is so we really are sure that we really hear the student voice, that the reason why we're all here is because of you. And it's so important to hear the student voice. We always say we're doing things for the students, and how can we do that if we don't know where you stand on issues, whereas, curriculum, bell schedule, gun violence, you name it. Before, this afternoon, I got on Google, said there's got to be some other thing I'm missing, and what I saw a lot were things along the lines of how good this could be for students to learn about the democratic process, what it's like to be on a board. But none of that is what really stuck home for me. It was really what we've gained from you. And I was reflecting on this last school year and just how much we have gained from your participation. I was really glad when Laura Anderson started the preferential voting. I have not done as well of a job always asking for a preferential vote, but I really, and I know the other board members have always appreciated your input. We not only learn a lot when you describe to us each board meeting what's happening at your school. I always hear something new that I didn't even know was going on. But I was thinking about where we've been the last 9 months and the types of meetings that you've participated in. We've had very serious issues. You've been here when we've had testimony that's pretty upsetting to hear. And there's been, issues at the national level. And then you've brought to us what the students feel. And it's not easy to do that. And we take it all into account. And then again, what I was talking about earlier on in the meeting, when we all, face the challenges of, looking at the budget, you came to the board meeting and told us what the students, valued. And I just can't thank you enough, because not only you're helping us, but then here you are on a school night. Today, I know AP exams started. These meetings go on rather late. They're not always extremely fascinating meetings, and you hang in there, and you're here for the important topics. And I hope your student body appreciates you as much as we do. I think we gain so much. So I just want to thank you. We have a certificate here for you. It doesn't do anything what you've done justice, but it's a way for us to thank you. And I would like to open it up to other board members if anyone else would like to express anything. That's right, you're the liaison. Do you want to start, since you're the official liaison to the...
You're both going to be back, right?
I am.
Right.
And Maddie, you are too.
Yeah, Maddie, Maddie's going to be here forever. It's like 5 to life. She'll be a longer standing board member than some of the board members next year.
Okay, Chuck.
Anyway, so this is more a message of encouragement for next year, and for Maddie the year beyond that. It's really important for this board to hear from you guys. It is, it is really, really, really important. So it's a significant responsibility that you speak up, for your classmates, and let us know, what's important. Let us make us aware of the things that we don't see and can't see. And my appreciation, for your service on this board is boundless, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Very nice.
It's hard to top that. I just want to personally thank you both, and I'm very excited that sounds like you're both coming back next year. That continuity is so important. You'll know what the issues are, and your voice is just extremely important to us. So thank you. And I'm hoping that we can, I wrote down, we had B from San Andreas, and Carolyn, I think she graduated, and Nina Kissinger, and I'm hoping that we can give them all certificates. Mary, I don't know if you've done that already, but okay.
Yeah, we have that. Any other comments before I go ahead?
I also want to thank you for what you're doing to attract your fellow students to consider participating publicly. You're helping to develop a sense of more structured student government and student feedback. I see that in just a couple of years with your presence here, growing tremendously with, I think, Drake taking the lead and showing us some how to do it. So again, I thank you for all your time and your commitment that you have here and to your colleagues.
Yeah, I just thank you as well. It's, your input is really valuable, and the fact that you want to continue serving is really wonderful, speaks very, very well of you. I did something similar when I was in high school down in Los Angeles, and so, and I learned a lot from that. You get to see, right, what's interesting is that you get to see how people speak and behave at these meetings, and some, with the whole range of humanity kind of coming in front of us, and that's valuable, and I think it helps you to form your ability to form judgments over time, which is good and will serve you in good stead, I think. So thanks for your service, and thanks for your continued service, and thanks to your parents for allowing you to be here, encouraging you.
Thank you. I think I'll bring these over to you, and I think now we're going to have a 15-minute break to celebrate. Is that right? Okay. So,
All right.
Lars, would you like to get started on
I
item
would.
G,
Thank you,
please?
President Lundgren. We've had lots of conversation about athletic trainers over the course of the last few months. There is no question they are invaluable with regard to the health and safety of our students in our athletic programs. And as you know, we have literally hundreds of TAM Union High School District students who participate in athletics throughout the course of a given year. It's really important to note that this one-year contract extension is more than just athletic trainers, though. It connects us with UCSF, one of the finest medical institutions in the country, if not the world, and the UCSF Play Safe program, which provides not just athletic trainers, but access, as I say, to some of the finest medical minds in our country and beyond, and a host of other services that we can access as their client. So it is with great respect for the program that I ask that the board approve this one-year contract extension with the Regents of the University of California, San Francisco.
Do I have any comments or questions from the board? So far, I see Barbara raising her hand.
Did we, refresh my memory in terms of funding potentially, did we ask or have a discussion with any of the boosters groups in terms of defraying any of these costs?
We did not solicit that from our respective foundations, and as you know, because the foundations at our three school sites raise different levels of monies, they're able at different levels to contribute. I will say though that select foundations did offer to assist us if we needed it. You know, we're looking at a one-year contract extension to get us through this coming year. We hope to have greater fiscal clarity after that, and then we'll determine, you know, the goal would be to engage in another multi-year agreement with them. At that point, I think conversations with superintendent and board will take place with regard to, do we take that on ourselves, or do we solicit foundation support for this? But what this contract extension really serves as a bridge to a point of more fiscal clarity and then again, hopefully engaging in a long-term relationship with UCSF as we have in years past. One side note, two things I want to say. Number one, Sue Collini, who's here this evening, has been, just as she always is, incredibly helpful with regard to being a liaison between UCSF and the TAM Union High School District. I love Sue, and she's invaluable in her help to me, and more importantly, to all of our athletic directors and so forth. Secondly, as you are well aware, the civil grand jury in Marin County recently, there's been two concussion-related reports, head trauma, head injury reports. TAM Union High School District fares very well in terms of our responses to those reports, and we fare very well because of our relationship with UCSF specific to athletic trainers. They're carrying the weight of those recommendations for our school district. I think that's really important that we remember. We would not respond nearly as well without this program in place.
I have a question, and I see Americ back there. He would know, but maybe you do, Lars. Which sports are we required to supply athletic trainers to? Home games, and it's not every sport, right? It's
not every sport. I mean, obviously football is one. We have athletic trainer presence though at essentially all of our contests, because even if you have a sport where typically, you know, concussions don't occur, they can always occur. I mean, they can occur in any athletic endeavor. So we not only have athletic trainers at our home events, we also, there's in this contract, we build in time for them to travel with select teams for select contests too, away, because not all schools have athletic trainers when we go to play there. So we do our best to cover our kids wherever they're at any time. So football, lacrosse, you know, those are contact sports. Americ, you want to jump in here? Sue, you want to jump in?
I was thinking while Sue's walking up there, like swimming and diving, I don't think that's covered. And I was on a swimming and diving team, and people bonk their heads and get hurt. I mean, it's not just concussion related. It's, you know, any kind of injury.
Okay, so the athletic directors work with the athletic trainers at each site to cover everything that they can during the time that they have. So they will identify when there's concurrent events, which ones are the most careful what's the most important to cover, and sometimes they are always on call with a phone if there's something happen at a different venue at the site. So they cover all home events, some home events during this time that they're on, and then they're there for Friday nights and Tuesday nights after hours with basketball games, Saturday games, things like that. So the good thing about having all of the schools in the MCAL now covered with athletic trainers is that we know that we will cover if visitors come to us, and we will be covered if we are at another site by the trainer that school employs. So all of the MCAL schools now do have athletic trainers. So we don't need to send somebody to those events because they're covered by another, as we cover the schools that come and visit us.
Okay, thank you.
Don't sit down, please. I have one more question, Sue. Or maybe you might be able to answer it too, Lars. I grabbed the microphone because I saw her walking away. When you, actually, as a carry-on, I'm trying to recall what time of year, because I can't believe it's already been a year, but we got a presentation that describes the number of
That'll be
injuries.
coming on May 22nd.
A whole year's gone by.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's
I
next
knew
board
right
meeting.
when you said that. I
Sue
remember
will be
thinking,
back
okay.
with a very comprehensive athletic report
Right, I
on May
remember that.
22nd.
Okay, that'll be very interesting.
She's been working on it. We've been
Okay.
talking. Matter of fact, we shared an email today with a portion of the presentation that you're going to see.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming in a couple weeks.
Okay.
And it's been, can you believe it? It's been a year.
Yeah, I can't.
Just about.
So
I
I'm sorry,
met
go ahead.
Andrew, who's the Drake athletic trainer. Met Andrew, I don't know his last name. Yes, he came up and introduced. He's very tall, and he was there because the baseball game. So it was very nice to meet.
I would also
meet
like
him.
to introduce Derek Harai, who is the UCSF representative for us. He is our trainer's supervisor, boss, and works with Dr. Lu. So, Derek, you want to raise your hand? So he's here because he's interested in maintaining our positive relationship with UCSF and the TAM district.
Very good. Any other comments or questions from trustees?
I've got a question and a comment for Sue. So am I to understand that if on any given day when athletic contests are going on, if the trainer is at one sport and there's a incident at another sport, that they are readily available?
Yes.
Instant.
The only time there's an issue is at, there wouldn't be a football game concurrently with anything else, but boys lacrosse requires coverage, and a trainer cannot leave while that game is on. So that is the only time, because football and boys lacrosse require medical coverage. Other sports don't require it, but we certainly want to have it available because, concussions can happen if you're walking down the street and somebody opens a door in the hallway. You can get a concussion. So it's not just athletics, but we know it can happen at any sport, and diving is one of them. But any sport, it doesn't matter, cheerleading, anything could happen. So when the trainers don't have a actual contest to cover, they are in their training room. They're taping, icing, giving advice to kids, looking at the venues, watching out for safety. Safety of our student athletes and our coaches is the most important things. They cover the medical kits so that they make sure if they're used, that they get replenished. And there's a lot of little details of things that they do.
I'm glad Sue mentioned that because, the contest, the games themselves get all the attention, but you can be injured equally as severely on a random Tuesday afternoon practice. So, that they're a presence on our school sites throughout the week, which is great.
And my comment is that, my understanding is that we're doing a 1 year because of the budgetary issues. But when we initially agreed to bring on UCSF, and I think I said then that we were establishing a standard of care that I don't think we can, and it's an impressive standard. I don't think 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, I don't think we can walk away from the level of care that we're providing our students now with this. I think once we have established this, we've taken it on there's no turning back. And the response that we got, clearly, and I'm not talking about the ankle injuries that have saved a student's season or that sort of thing, but I don't think it would be publicly acceptable to walk away from it, nor do I think it would be, ethically or morally acceptable for us to walk away from this.
I'd also like to publicly state, I'm very appreciative of UCSF working with us. They are understanding of our current fiscal challenges. Their preference, as is ours, is to have a multi-year agreement. They agreed to put forward a one-year contract extension in support of the challenges the board is facing. They understand. They want a long-term relationship, as do we. So I do appreciate, and want to say publicly, that I appreciate their cooperation in this matter very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members or student trustees before I open it up to public comment? Are there any public comments on this item? Seeing none, I think we're ready for a motion. Can I ask for a motion for item G to approve the one-year contract extension with the Regents of the University of California Department of Orthopedic Surgery?
I move that the board approve the one-year contract extension with the Regents of the UC Department of Orthopedic Surgery.
Second, somebody?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
very
It
much.
passed. Thank you. Dr. Topier, we're on to the staffing plan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we are presenting the staffing plan to the district. This is something we do annually as a way of presenting to the board all at one time any increases to staffing that we will need. So these numbers do not reflect hiring, but rather increases to existing FTE or full-time equivalent employees in the district in both the certificated and classified units. So just a reminder of the process we go through. This process here is for certificated staffing. And it feels like it's a year-long process. I feel like the minute we settle into the school year, we're enrolling incoming ninth graders and doing simple tallies and figuring out who's coming. So we have done all of that, and we actually, where we are now in the process is that most of the schools have built their master schedules for next year and are just working out, the sort of conflicts and kinks in most of the master schedules for next year. So the major process we use to determine staffing for certificated is section allocation. And that is how we staff the classes that we will be offering in the coming years in the master schedule. This year we are staffing at the 28-to-1 ratio for most departments, except for English, which is slightly lower, and Applied Tech, which is slightly lower. The reason that these past several years we have had so many increases in staffing is that, as you know, we are in an enrollment growth period, and we have, after next year, we have 2 more years of enrollment growth, and then the district starts to drop off a little and level out. So hopefully in 2 more years, we won't be seeing the kinds of expansion in FTE that we have over the last several years. But next year, this is our last big growth year next year, and with an additional 320 students coming into the district. Distributed, as you see there on the screen. Currently, what we have enrolled in our student information system is saying that we are about 27 students lower than projection, which for 5,099 kids, it's not bad to be within 27. That will fluctuate a little. We get some people who come in August and some people who go out. But we're pretty close to the target right now, so that's good news for us, meaning that our projection seems to be working pretty well. So the needed increases in certificated-only staffing. We are adding 3.6 in general education teacher FTE, 2.8 in special education, and 1.0 in counseling, as you see there, for a total of 7.4 additional FTE certificated for next year. And in classified, we will be adding 2.175 in paraeducator specifically to special education. So these are paraeducators that are added based on state ratios for adults in a special ed classroom. Special ed right now is still maintaining just under 10% of the identified student population. I do want to point out that at this time, the district is still in negotiations with CSCA around other potential staffing increases that Lars is working on, and any new positions will be brought to you before budget adoption for your consideration. So here are the total financial implications for staffing increases for next year. And one thing that I do want to indicate is that at budget adoption last year, we were anticipating a 17.4 FTE growth just in certificated. So some of the measures we've taken to reduce costs have really reduced the number of FTE we need. A large part of that being the suspension of the teacher leader model, which brought 4.2 FTE back into the classroom, as well as work with TFT to staff closer to those existing ratios. So through some math and through some suspension of programming, we've been able to reduce significantly the number of increased FTE. Staffing assumptions for 1920. As you know, we try to keep our projections up to about 3 to 5 years out. So I sat down with Terry Ryland, and right now we're looking at an increase in certificated staffing only of 2.4 FTE for next year. Part of that is that our growth next year is small across the district. So we anticipate being able to manage with 2.4 additional FTE next year. And the year out, we haven't quite figured out yet, but we anticipate it being similar. With the year out, I think we're only adding about 96 or 95 students, which now I say only because it's not 320. And then the year after that is our first year of decrease, and we start decreasing that year by like 32 students. So what I want to, point out is one of the reasons, we always try to pay close attention to our staffing, but in these years, as we come close to the downside of the bubble, we really want to make sure that we are staffing very closely so that as our numbers of students decrease and we have a natural, constriction in our students, that we're not looking at being overstaffed or laying people off through PKS, which is a particular kind of service reduction, but rather we can naturally constrict with attrition through people retiring and not being replaced and things like that, which is a much better way to reduce staffing after a growth period. So we're trying to be very mindful of being close to those ratios so that we're not looking at hiring someone for 2 years and then laying them off as we start to decrease in size. That's the staffing plan.
What accounts for the relatively large increase in special ed teachers compared to general ed? We're only going up 3.6 for general ed.
Well, so
2.8 for special ed.
Part of that is the general ed teacher. A lot of those were coming. That's part of that balancing act of bringing the teacher leaders back into the classroom. And we always staff our special ed at 90%. So with 320 new kids, we can expect 32, additional special ed. And then so if they were all in one place, that would just be a 1.0, but because they're spread out, what happens is you end up with, multiple special ed people close to or maxed out. So that's been part of and also, we tend to have more kids coming in, and then we decrease our numbers of special ed as they reach, like we exit more kids than we make eligible. So I'm not sure right now, but these numbers are based on known cases of IEPs coming into the district.
Any other questions, Michael?
Yeah, I had a question in the memo that rather than the PowerPoint, there was a section where you talked that's labeled sectioning guidelines. It's above special education staffing, so it's on page. There's no page.
Yes.
Right. So there's a bullet point that says core and elective courses with fewer than 20 students enrolled may run at the discretion of the principal and assistant superintendent of education services. So does that mean it would require a approval of the principal and you?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, and that's part of the process we go through right now when, I sit down with all of the principals and whoever at their site is supporting master scheduling. And part of the section allocation process we go through is just that, looking at the number of sections that they are allocating to any one course and what that average number of students per course will be. Now, sometimes that changes. There might, we always use the example of, the 39 kids in French 1. So the idea of, in that case, we historically and this year are running 2 sections of French 1. There's programmatic implications, but there are some exceptions. The idea now is that there are far fewer of those, so we shouldn't see any, sort of real core classes running lower than 20. Now, sometimes on average across the whole course, like all of your English 3s in one school, the average might be 25, but you might have some at 30 and some at 20 or some at 19 just because of scheduling conflicts. But overall, the average of that course needs to be over that 20.
Are there any courses that are not going to be offered next year because we're staffing closer to the staffing ratios?
I know that there were some electives that didn't go, but I don't know them off the top of my head. I know that, but there were some elective classes. I know I talked to Tam, and they were looking at how to navigate some of the courses that didn't get the signups to run.
And the last question, and why is it, with respect to this, this exception, why is it that 20 is your number?
That's a good question, Michael. It's always been the number. And I don't know the history of where that number came from. I know that I think 20 kids you have to put somewhere. Like that's a number of kids that constitute a class, that if you don't put them in that class, you have to disperse them somewhere. So usually 20, in my mind, has been the bottom of where we would want to run a class.
The number 20 is not unique to the TAM district. That's a really common number in master schedule construction and other places. Like that.
I can look around and find out why that's that number, though, if you'd like.
Barbara, Laura, do either of you have a question?
I have several questions. First, I wanted to thank you for winnowing that number down from 17.4 to what we're looking at tonight. I know that's taken a lot of your time, and it's not just you. A lot of people have been working on that, but really appreciate that. I have a question about the number of classes students take on average. That's part of the formula. It's in the numerator.
Yeah.
And I know that most of our students graduate with way more than the 220 credits that they need to graduate. I'm wondering if, I checked also we do have an administrative regulation that was last revised in 1996. about 6 classes per.
that's right.
Per.
Semester.
Yeah, per student per year, and I'm wondering if we've considered revisiting that. Why is that 6? There are more kids taking classes at College of Marin and online.
And I think Dr. Yoshihara has been investigating that as well. And there's a new Senate bill that related to that I haven't dug into very deeply. And part of it is that has been the programming we've offered, and because most kids, our graduation requirements do not align to like being UC eligible, for example. So in order to be UC eligible, kids need to take that many more classes, right? You need at least 3 years of a lab science. In our current science structure, that means kids are it's recommended, it's 2 years, but a recommended 3. That means they're taking 4 years of science. Our requirement is 2. You need to get all the way through the equivalent of advanced algebra. So that's a 3-year math endeavor for most students, sometimes 4, whereas our graduation requirement is 2. So there are some, some of those things. We don't have a world language requirement in our district, but to get into a UC, you need at least 2 years, preferably 3. Do you know what I mean? So our graduation requirements are one thing, but then to be UC eligible, which is the goal of a lot of our students, they need to take that many more classes.
So I'm wondering if I can, superintendent's not here, but I would like maybe somebody to take a look at that AR 6112, which is 22 years old, and maybe, see if it's still applicable to what we're seeing now. That 6 classes, if that is still relevant to 21st century learning, what we're espousing to do. I would appreciate that. Or we can tell Dr. Yoshihara, and then he'll tell you to do that. I don't know how to.
Right.
And then I thought I had one more question in here. Student choice. So I think that the TAM Union District is fairly unique in that we develop this staffing plan based on what our students register for. We don't cap out a class, an elective at, we only have 2 sections because of.
We did this year.
Oh, we did?
We did.
Okay.
We capped classes.
So that's different.
Yeah, we capped some electives and prioritized seniors into those electives and ensured those juniors that they could take that. And not at all of the sites, not all the sites needed to do that, but I know that Redwood and TAM capped electives.
And that's the first time that's been done?
Right. Yes, that's the first time since I've been in this position that we have capped electives in that way.
And how did that go down?
We don't know yet because kids don't have their schedules yet.
Okay. Well, you've been working hard on that, and I appreciate it.
And thank you. And the sites have been incredibly cooperative. And it was also a facilities issue, particularly in some science courses. It was just we just have nowhere else to put you, and we're not saying you can't take this class. We're saying you can't take it this year, and you will get to take it next year.
Thank you.
Maddie, did you have any questions or anything? Any comment? Chuck, did you have anything else?
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you just, off the top of your head, know how many kids are in the ethnic studies classes? Are they?
There's only one section running at TAM, and last I checked, there were 22 students signed up.
Can you refresh me on why there's only one?
Because it wasn't even approved until March, so the scheduling had largely been out. And, TAM had sort of been planning for it, and I think some of the other sites wanted a little more time to figure out how to put that class into their master schedule and into their department and who's going to teach it, and particularly in a year where we're sort of, trying to cap some things.
Because I think it's an important class to grow.
Yeah,
in
and
terms of
as
our
you know,
LCAP goals.
a year from now, we'll be required to have it on to be offering it at least.
Is this an action item? Are we
It is, because
approving
it approves
Okay.
the additional FTE.
Okay. Can I ask for a motion to approve the 18-19 staffing plan,
I
please?
think we, public comment.
I thought I asked, sorry. Do I have any public comment on the staffing? I'm sorry, Corey. Thank you, Laura.
No, you're welcome.
I just have a quick question. I'm reading off the memo. There's a .2 FTE increase in the counseling enriched classroom at Tamalpais, and I wonder, does that represent an increase in students? Is that the?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The .2 is going to be taken over by Sarah Ehart, who will be supporting Sean. And so I don't know what that number is, but the idea is to be able to house, I think, a few more students.
In the CEC classroom?
In the CEC classroom.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yep. How many students are in the CEC classroom now? Do you know?
We had 12. I don't know exactly how many are there today. You know, some have graduated. Some have come back. We have other, students who have come in, one from outside of the district. And that's a pay-for-service placement. But
And with that .2, how many are you contemplating?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to ask Amira that question. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, beyond the numbers, there's, what would the term be? There's kind of a critical mass, that it's a confined space.
Right.
And,
yeah.
You have students who are already disruptive and, in 12 individual ways. I can just, if that number grows, I can see that no matter how many teachers you have, it getting a very difficult space to manage.
Yeah, and I should say, I believe that to be the case. I don't know that to be the case. I know that they asked for the expansion. I also know that this year it was very hard for Sean to have any kind of, the teacher in that classroom to have any kind of break because they're not on a bell schedule. So I should say, I don't know if there's an addition. I thought there was going to be an addition of students, but I should really check that because I'm not sure how that, because I know that they did, we set a cap on that classroom. So I'm not sure how this .2 is going to, but I know it's Sarah Ehart, who's already at Tamalpais, who's going to support the CEC in a .2. And I will check on how that's going to happen.
So can I entertain a motion to approve the 2018-19 staffing plan?
So moved.
We have a second? Just to make sure you're okay, Laura. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. So now we'll move on to the 4 items that we pulled from the consent agenda. We'll start with 17E, and you may as well pull 17F. It sounded like, Laura, you thought the two went hand in hand, or
I did.
Did I misunderstand you? Okay.
And then eke out this question. I'm just wondering if they're budgeted as part of Phase 2, or
are.
if these are new.
They are.
Okay.
They are. The bid to dig that trench, we're actually going to bore it, not dig it in traditional fashion, but bore it. That cuts down on the amount of, breaking of concrete and asphalt you have to do, reduces noise and so forth. It's an expensive proposition, but it needs to be done as we have to install that restroom to be compliant with the state of California stall to pupil ratio of all things. And then we're making the decision, as you will see in the POs that you hopefully will be approving, to actually purchase the pump itself to pump the waste through that line that we're going to dig. So it's every flush comes with a price, but it's necessary.
Any other questions? So we'll take one at a time. Can I have a motion to accept North State Earth and Water bid number 58, please? That's item 17E.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to 17F. Can we have a motion to accept Cal Elite Builders as contractor for bid number 59, site preparation for portable restroom interim?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're moving on to item 17J, approved textbook supplementary book list. Barbara, I think you had a
I
comment.
have a comment to make simply, Tara. Just as I read that list, as I'm want to do or wont to do, I noticed and appreciate the alignment that our teachers are expressing as they select those texts, particularly the one that stood out to me that clearly gets to our equity issues. And is tied into what our community, I think, is addressing. For example, tomorrow night there will be at Mill Valley Middle School the Color of Law book that has been discussed nationally and is being discussed currently. So I'm very encouraged by the influence of professional development that we can see on some of these selections. So thank you.
Thank you, and I thank the teachers because they're the ones that have been really, vigilant about materials. Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion, Barbara, for 17J?
I move we adopt the textbook. I move we approve the textbook adoption resolution.
That sounds good. No, sounds good. Approved textbook supplementary book list. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 17N, this is the request for alteration of school district property at Drake High School, Unity World Mural, and I think we were requesting additional attachments. And I know that, Mary, you sent something around, right?
Well, I sent it just, I think, to, I should have,
I thought you sent it to all the trustees.
it was kind of a question about whether it would be okay for them to go forward, because we neglected to include that and also two other requests. I know it's an ask, it's a big ask, and I'm not sure that you can do that now. We didn't provide it to all the board, so.
Well, okay, so this came up because there's a request for the board approval of a mural, but there was no sketch of the mural that was provided. So in response, so it turns out that there was perhaps some misplaced paperwork. It's a little unclear exactly what happened, but when Liz was contacted, she was able to provide sketches of 3 proposed, I guess, art installations or murals at Drake. So you don't think that this is drafted broad? So the question I have here is, and Liz also said that she'd like to really get these things approved now,
Right.
because if we don't approve them prior to May 22nd, there wouldn't be enough time for the students to engage in the artwork, or to do the murals. But it looks like we only have one motion in front of us. Is there a way to construe this motion to include all 3 murals?
What's interesting is that I have yet to see this one, but Monday of this week, yesterday, I received the other 2 with sketches, and I approved them for board consideration, to be passed forward. I haven't seen this one. I know that Liz very much wants to get the kids going on this.
Well,
but right now only that
not
one is
clear.
agendized.
Yeah, I'm actually a little confused as well on this. So the one you're pointing to, Lars, and you said you haven't seen this?
I haven't seen that one.
So there's two other descriptions of locations for these murals for the other 2? This one
that
just
says
says district
THS. That's got to be TAM. I've seen 2 Drake requests and sketches as of yesterday.
There were 3.
So there's 3 total at Drake.
What? Where is?
So is N supposed to cover all 3?
Because,
Okay, so
what happened, this is the other board members are kind of out of the loop.
In
So-
the dark.
Yeah, so what
Yeah,
happened
no.
was, when I saw that there was this agenda item, but there was no
No picture,
sketch, there
yeah.
was no sketch that was provided, I copied Leslie as board chair, and I sent an email to staff. And at David's suggestion, Liz was brought into the loop. And then she forwarded presumably to you, Mary, which you sent to whoever was on that email trail, which was, in terms of board members, it was only Leslie and me, which included three murals, requested sort of sketches of murals, all of which are for Drake, right?
Yeah, that's got to be a typo, because I see N, request for alterations to district property Drake, but then down there it says THS. But again, I've seen 2 of the 3 Drake submissions, and I found them very appropriate, and again,
Can we show them now on the screen?
Yeah.
Just show them on the screen
Yeah,
now.
Your email,
Here, yeah.
And then
if
we
you've got it in
can,
your email, Mary.
but
I might be able to pull it up
Michael's
mine.
got them, right? Didn't you?
Yeah, I have the email.
With the attachment?
But I only saw 2.
Well, there were 3 attachments.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't see, I don't think they all
There's
were-
one.
well, the sketches are on,
so I-
7 by 11
yeah,
inch piece
so
of
I mean,
paper. Yeah.
So what am I gonna do? Are we gonna,
We could plug it in. We can open the attachment and plug it into the
You don't
screen.
have it?
Well, I don't know.
It's not on that attachment.
Can we plug his computer in?
Mary's asking a different question.
Okay.
She's also asking about the size of the mural itself.
Well, the one that,
I'm sorry, I can't get to my email right now. I'm not logged in.
okay, well, I am.
Can we hook his
So can we hook it
laptop
up?
to the screen?
Oh,
No, we can just pass the laptop around, too.
the laptop?
Yeah, we could also just pass your
Yeah,
laptop.
that's true.
Okay, this is item number, I don't know, this is the fist mural. Come over. Right,
And then we can just attach this for board communication.
yeah, this was one, I don't, there's nothing.
And that
That's the one that was missing from here.
This is the one that was requested there, that's the Unity World
And it should be trade.
mural. Right. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, then there was another one, but the problem is that this is something a little bit different. This was from David, to David O'Connor, received April 30, 2018. And this is from the rock class.
They're all a part of the ROC program.
They are?
So a bit, just background. Right now, ROC is doing their Art is Everywhere project. And this project, it's a couple-month-long project. And at the end of it, we are supposed to do an art piece somewhere in the community that's going to be hopefully fairly permanent, be up there for a bit. And we're supposed to organize it, and like a part of it is reaching out to whoever we need to get approval of. So a fair amount of people chose to do things at Drake. Other people didn't get approval for permanent, but they got temporary approval, and apparently that doesn't need board approval because it's just like hanging things. So they're already going ahead on that. So these are the 3 that they first had to go through. We have a Drake sort of art committee. So they first had to get approved by them, then the DLC, and the people who got approved for permanent from the DLC are these 3 groups. They're all a part of this ROC project. So then these would be there.
Anyway,
You're
okay.
very helpful. Thank
So,
you, Maddie.
Thank you. So anyway, so this is the what are they calling this one? Drake High School garden wall. It was not clear for that all 3 would rock from the way it was drafted, but I'm sure you're right about that. And this was the 3rd one. Flowers.
Poppies.
California poppies.
California golden poppies.
Coffee season, too. There should be
Looks like
stuff.
color crayons.
Right. So,
Is that just a sketch, or is that?
and the cost of the alteration would be $45.78. There you go.
Are you, I mean, I don't see any problem with.
There's nothing objectionable with any of this stuff.
No, and
So-
it's
So I guess I would suggest that we could probably pass this one, right? Because this one's on the agenda. And then we're effectively giving direction that if they need to start with, with the other two, we've all, looked at it, we think it's okay, and you should bring it for ratification at the next.
We'll ask Mary to bring those two back,
next
next meeting.
But if they need to start.
We'll give Liz the green light for the three.
Definitely like to start.
Yeah, we'll give
That's
her
a
the
good
green
idea.
light to go.
Thank you, Michael. Good idea.
Okay,
So since it was your idea, you get to make the motion.
I just did.
Okay, good. Do we have a second?
I'm not going to repeat it.
It sounded really good. Okay.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Right,
And-
preferential vote here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so bad at this. Okay. And you helped so much with us figuring this out.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
That's true. Actually, that's true.
No.
I do have friends on 2 of the groups.
Oh, good for
actually
you.
going to abstain.
You are,
No.
oh, no. Well, we know how you
Don't
feel.
abstain, that is not a
Yeah.
conflict of interest. That is not, just
You have, to
you
have you have to have a monetary interest in it.
exercised your right to
Yeah.
vote.
I just want to say that I think any mural, no matter the level of ability, is better than just sort of off-white walls.
Yeah.
Is my opinion.
Thank you, Maddie. All those in favor? Did we already do it?
Was there a
Good.
second?
Boy, we
Yeah.
had a second and
Okay.
everything. Shows
Aye.
it's getting late. Aye.
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 Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.